Two police officers from this region have had their names inscribed on the Ontario Police Memorial in Toronto. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The ceremony held yesterday outside Queen's Park honored Thunder Bay Police Constable Craig Town and Rainy River Special Constable Wilfred Fairless. Town was shot in line of duty in 1991. He spent the rest of his life as a quadriplegic, but also as an inspiration to his fellow officers, before passing away in August of 2023. His widow, Jillian, attended the ceremony, as did a number of local police officers. Jonathan Wilson reports.
Police officers from across the province and beyond came together by the thousands for the annual ceremony next to Queen's Park in Toronto. They marched towards the Ontario Police Memorial to honor their fellow officers who died in the line of duty.
Policing is not just a profession, it is a calling. And today we bow our heads in remembrance. We also lift our hearts in gratitude.
Colin Woods, the president of the Police Memorial Foundation, is also the head of the Thunder Bay Police Association, so it was fitting he got to read the tribute to his colleague on the force. Constable Craig Town died in 2023 after spending 30 years in a wheelchair following a shooting in 1991.
On the night of September 27th, Craig and other officers were dealing with an arrested individual at the police station when that same individual began to fight with them. During the ensuing struggle, the arrested individual managed to seize his firearm and shot Craig twice. Craig survived, but his injuries left him with debilitating injuries. What followed next was nothing short of extraordinary. Craig met his new reality with courage and resilience. Knowing affectionately as Rolo Cop to his colleagues at home, he continued to serve as a source of strength and pride for the colleagues and his community.
Craig would be so proud, and then it gives us a chance to come to a space where we can really honor and remember him.
Town's widow Jillian was handed a wreath by Thunder Bay Police Constable Jeff Elvish, which she then placed at the memorial. She says her husband considered policing to be the best career possible.
He really identified with a life of justice. He always had a heart for the downtrodden and wanted to make the world a better place.
The other fallen officer honored with a spot on the memorial wall was Rainy River Special Constable Wilfred Fairless, who died in 1910.
Wilfred Fairless was 26 years young and was working for the Canadian National Railway. In October of that year, due to devastating forest fires surrounding Rainy River, Ontario, Wilfred was called upon and appointed as a special constable to help deal with the surge of people coming into Rainy River after being displaced by these fires. On the night of October 9th, Wilfred was on patrol when he was shot and severely beaten by unknown assailants and left to die on the side of the road.
There are now 283 names on the wall, including Thunder Bay Police officers John Kushner, who was fatally shot by a suspect in 1978, and Joe Previtt, who suffered heart failure while training a police dog in 2014. Premier Doug Ford spoke at the ceremony for the two newest additions to the memorial wall.
When you have a family member or a loved one that walks out that door every single day, you pray that they walk back through that door at nighttime. And as we've seen, that doesn't always happen. But we will do everything we can. I'll do everything in my powers to make sure every officer returns home to their loved ones.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council is back in session tonight. Council members are being asked to ratify Cam River Heritage Park as the official location for the temporary shelter village. Administration says the site will be able to house 80 powered and heated units. If the vote passes, city staff will issue 2 tenders, one for building the units and others for infrastructure, and another to manage it. Also on the agenda, administration will update council on an expansion of the animal services the city provides. This includes collecting lost and stray animals, establishing a rehoming process, and creating an animal services task force. The Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce has joined forces with the CEDC to announce the new Small Business Tariff Response Fund. A total of $125,000 is available for local businesses to apply for to help them respond to mounting tariffs from the United States. The Chamber and the CEDC will be providing 15 small businesses with $7,500 apiece for projects that have a minimum cost of $10,000. The goal is to empower small to medium-sized businesses so they can overcome the obstacles of our current political and economic climate. Chamber President Charlotte Robinson says it's important to support small businesses in these trying times.
We're here to support small business, especially, smaller businesses maybe don't have as much capacity for managing these kinds of changes. So that's why, working with the CDC, we decided to put together this small business tariff response fund, which will really help with some of those small costs, but big costs for small business, right? Things like maybe some legal fees or maybe some consulting fees, some research into new markets, just because it's such a dynamic environment right now.
We really felt that there was a gap in supporting some of the smaller businesses with the transition right now. We do expect that there'll be other programs announced, but really we wanted to be able to have some sort of an offering to support businesses through this period of transition. We do have a small investment fund available to us, and we started the conversation about how we could help. What would be the best way to support those businesses?
Applications for the Small Business Tariff Response Fund are available on the Chamber of Commerce website. The deadline to apply is May 30th. Today, Premier Doug Ford has sent Prime Minister Mark Carney a list of priorities he would like to see the federal government support, as he shows his support ahead of Carney's meeting with the U.S. President. CTV's Siobhan Morris reports.
With the Prime Minister off to lay the groundwork for a new relationship with the U.S., some encouragement from the Premier.
I just mentioned to him, don't get bullied, be strong, and we have your back.
Doug Ford is out with a wish list, nation-building projects he wants Mark Carney to have the provinces back on. Things like nuclear power generation.
For the Ring of Fire, Deep Sea Port in James Bay, Go 2.0, which is absolutely critical for getting people from point A to point B.
And the controversial proposed tunnel under Highway 401 for cars and transit.
Oh my goodness, honestly, this is outrageous and ridiculous.
The cost of that tunnel could bankrupt this province. It's a 40-year project, frankly, that will not address traffic gridlock or congestion today.
For the opposition leader, the Premier's approach is baffling as tariffs cost hundreds of workers their jobs.
For the Premier to prioritize these vanity projects over things like housing, over safe roads in every other part of this province, it just boggles the mind.
The Green leader would also rather the province stimulate the economy by building homes and more.
Why don't we have a nation-building project, have an east-west grid so we can actually power our economy with clean energy?
But the transportation minister defends pushing ahead on tunneling.
The cost of not building is far greater. We have to look at the 401 as one of the most congested places probably in all of North America.
At this point, there's been no firm commitment from Ottawa to a Highway 401 tunnel. But the transportation minister says the province will keep those conversations going. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The City of Thunder Bay is letting the public know that a portion of the pedestrian trail along McIver Creek is temporarily closed due to a washout. After the heavy rain last week, the section between Court Street and Algoma Street experienced some flood damage, making the trail between the river unsafe for the public to use. City officials say it was either the high levels of water or overland runoff, which caused a chunk of the stone wall to be washed away. The city hopes to have a contractor fixing the problem areas on Wednesday. If that work is completed, the trail could be reopened on Thursday, allowing people to once again walk their dogs or bike along the scenic route. The Thunder Bay Perinatal Coalition and the District Health Unit are raising awareness about postpartum depression and other mental health issues for new mothers. The second annual Floras Walk was held at Waverly Park this weekend. Emma Chilton reports.
Floras Walk is a national initiative that started in 2023 by the Canadian Perinatal Mental Health Collaborative to raise awareness for perinatal mental health. The event is inspired by the tragic story of Flora Babakani, a Toronto mother who lost her life to suicide in 2022 because of undetected and untreated perinatal psychosis. Public health nurse Denise Sozio says she hopes the walk breaks the stigma and gets the word out for anyone who is struggling with a perinatal mental health condition.
So we're here today because we want to break down that stigma. We know that stigma remains one of the biggest barriers to seeking help. really too often people feel ashamed, they feel alone, they're not sure where to go. So that's really why we're here today. That's why we're walking. We're trying to break the silence, challenge the misconceptions, and really build a community where perinatal mental health is treated with seriousness, treated with compassion, and provided the support that it deserves.
This is the second annual walk, and dozens of residents came out to show support and walk the block around Waverly Park with Flora's banner. Ceremony speaker Elizabeth Moore says she was proud to acknowledge Flora and her struggles that ended tragically through prayer and participating in the walk.
I will be participating in the walk, and I will be feeling very. I felt very sad when I first heard about Flora and how she tragically passed away. But today I am feeling very happy to be part of this walk, and I am proud to be here. And there's so much more yet to learn and do for the postpartum depression.
Booths were set up at the event for information and support for birth parents and families. Sozio says our region has one of the highest rates for postpartum depression and other maternal mental health concerns.
So all of these incredible community groups, organizations, providers are here today to make sure that people in our community know where to go if they need support, that we talk about perinatal mental health, we break the stigma, we normalize it, and make sure that people can get support as soon as possible.
For anyone struggling with a perinatal mental health condition, they can go to the Thunder Bay District Health Unit website, tbdhu.com/mental health support. Emma Chilton, TBT News.
Today is Red Dress Day, also known as the National Day of Awareness and Remembrance for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirit People. In honor of the day, the Oshkosh-Wenjack Education Institute hosted a community walk. The event saw around 20 people walk around downtown Fort William, with participants calling for justice and action to address the ongoing violence faced by Indigenous people. The event was also meant to amplify the message of solidarity and remembrance. Organizer Clarissa Nishnapes says they wanted to honor the day because it's a cause that's close to the Institute.
I felt that it was important because Oshkosh-Wenjack, the Wenjack Education Institute, we recently had some students that went missing and some murdered. So I felt that it was close to heart to us and that it was important to do this walk today.
We need to keep this alive, that way we have our voices heard. I feel at times we need government institutions, we need this to be shared too in our schools.
Threads of Life held their annual charity walk in Thunder Bay yesterday to raise money and awareness on workplace health and safety. The organization helps and supports families who are affected by workplace tragedies and occupational diseases. The Steps for Life event began with a ceremony at the Carpenters Union building with guest speakers whose lives have been affected by workplace injuries or death. The affected families placed candles on the podium in honor of their loved ones. The 5-kilometer walk started at the Carpenters building and headed from Innova Park towards Oliver Road and back. Co-chair of the Steps for Life walk, Mika Lees, says it's important to increase awareness of health and safety programs in the workplace.
Our biggest goal for this is to raise the awareness, have a sea of yellow shirts walking down Gulf Links Road, people asking, what are these people doing? We want to raise the awareness of Threads of Life and what the things that they can do for families. Threads of Life doesn't reach out to families affected by workplace tragedies. People have to know that they exist for them to access the support from Threads of Life. Normally this walk happens the first weekend of May, the first Sunday in May. The first week of May, and I know May has become so many things, it's become Mental Health Month, but the first week of May traditionally was North American Occupational Health and Safety Week, which we also call NAOSH Week. It's a natural workplace marker for companies to highlight the activities of what joint health and safety committees or what they're doing with their safety programs and to increase the awareness of safety programs.
For anyone who knows someone that's been affected by a workplace tragedy, threads of life can lend a hand to those in need. Well, a lot of important walks happening around town, Fiona, and luckily the weather has really held up for those walks.
I know, all last week you kept asking, is it spring-like temperature? Well, today was certainly, and this weekend, certainly spring-like. Skies were blue, sun was shining, I got a head cold. You know, it's just typical spring. And today was a beautiful way to start the week. In fact, temperatures shot up quite a bit today. We topped out with a high of 17. That's after starting the day at -2. Now, winds were, for the most part, fairly light in the teens from the east-northeast, starting out at about 12 kilometers per hour. It was around 12 to 18 for most of the day, although in the last couple of hours, it did kick up a notch a little bit. We saw gusts up to 31 k. And if we take a look what's going on throughout the region, plenty of sunshine to share with everyone. Now, temperature-wise, everything west of Armstrong, for the most part, has been well above normal, solidly in the 20s, averaging probably almost 10 degrees above what is normal for this time of year. Red Lake at 28 may have hit a record. We kind of rounded up. Environment Canada goes down to the 10th of a degree, so we'll have to find out maybe tomorrow. Fort Frances also topped out at 28. They're currently sitting at 26, as is Dryden, Upsala, Atikokan at 24. Now, Armstrong and Greenstone, not quite as warm, 19 and 20 Celsius, but that is, again, well above normal for this time of year. It's along the lake shore that temperatures are a little bit cooler. Marathon at 13, 17 in Nipissing, Wawa, and Sault Ste. Marie. But again, 17 for this time of year. There's nothing wrong with that. Sault Ste. Marie has had partly cloudy skies for most of the day, so ironically, the place in the region that's usually the warmest is one of the cooler ones at this time. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, we're going to drop down to 2 Celsius, so we will stay above the freezing mark tonight, as will most locations in the region. Clear skies and winds will be very light from the east, 5 to about 10 kilometers per hour. But the big question is this going to stick around? Well, for the week ahead, we are looking at more spring-like weather to stick around, and that means loads of sunshine and temperatures which will be either seasonal or higher. Now, I say that, but there is one tiny little exception, and that's the possibility, just a slight possibility, that we might see a little bit of rain tomorrow. Just a touch.
You know
but
what?
so far, that's looking to be all it's going to be, and we're still going to have those great temperatures, so not necessarily a bad thing.
I'll definitely take that. Thank you, Fiona. That sounds pretty good for the most part, for sure.